On Monday, May 4th, the Met Gala 2026 took over the Metropolitan Museum of Art, an invitation-only gathering of roughly 450 people. Fashion, politics, entertainment, tech, sports, all converging under one condition: dress like art or don't arrive at all. This year's theme wasn't subtle, it was called costume art, and the dress code, fashion. A statement that sounds simple until you realize it's actually a debate that fashion has been having with itself for over a century. Inside the Costume Institute's new 12,000 square foot Condé Nast galleries, the expedition doesn't just display clothing, it stages an argument. Garments are placed directly beside artworks from across 5,000 years of history. The idea is simple on paper. Clothing and the body are not separate categories. They are one continuous visual language, kind of like music. But here's the tension. Nobody at the surface level wants to fully sit with if fashion is art. Then why does it constantly need permission from institutions like this to prove itself? The red carpet delivered what it was designed to deliver: interpretation, translation, performance, from classical sculpture references to surrealist painting echoes, to direct recreations of art history moments. Some looks literally referenced Greek sculptures, Klimt portraits, Sargent paintings, Seurat compositions, declarations, history, scenes. It wasn't fashion inspired by art, it was fashion trying to become citation. And that's where things get interesting, because once fashion becomes citation, it stops asking questions and starts asking for validation. The Met Gala is not just an event, it is the Costume Institute's primary fundraising engine. Every ticket, every table, every look exists inside a system that funds expeditions, acquisitions, and the institution's future programming. Until now. So yes, this is fashion, but it's also infrastructure, power, curation, and performance designed for global visibility. Now, let's talk about the phrase, fashion is art. This is art. Because that's where everything collapses into argument. There's a long-standing debate in fashion theory. People like Valerie Steele have pointed out that fashion exists in a completely different system than traditional art. Different institutions, different economies, different intent, and yet we keep collapsing them together. Fashion, art. Not because it's shown in a museum, not because celebrities reinterpret paintings on a carpet. Fashion becomes art when it stops being decoration for validation and starts being structure for meaning. In deeper terms, fashion can only be art when it becomes useless. From ancient dress codes in Egypt, to Roman statue garments, to Renaissance portraits, to 19th century couture systems established by figures like Charles Frederick Worth, we talked about him. Fashion has always been visual communication, always. But communication is not automatically art. It becomes art when intention, execution, and interpretation align without needing external permission. So, when the Met Gala declares fashion is art, it's not discovering something new, it's institutionalizing a long-existing tension and then packaging it into spectacle. Some of these looks were genuinely intelligent, some were conceptually sharp, some understood the assignment at a historical level, and some completely failed and should have been buried under the Met. But others, they relied heavily on recognition, on immediacy, and that's where fashion starts to flatten itself into entertainment rather than interpretation. But I don't dismiss it, because even spectacle has value. Even exaggeration pushes visibility. Even overperformance reveals how much fashion depends on being seen. And art doesn't need to be seen. It just is. The expedition inside the museum does something more interesting than the carpets outside. It forces equivalence. A garment next to sculpture, a dress next to a painting, a body next to another representation of a body, hence the skull and the outer frame of the body. And suddenly the question stops being, is fashion art, and becomes, what is the difference between being worn and being displayed? Fashion has never needed permission to exist as art, but it has always needed institutions to stabilize its meaning. And the Met Gala is the purest expression of that tension, a space where fashion proves itself by being seen, but also risks becoming only that, seen. So, when people say fashion is art at the Met Gala, I don't hear a conclusion. I hear an ongoing argument dressed in silk, history, flash photography, and if we're being honest, fashion was never unsure of itself. We were. Sincerely in style, Mrs. October, aka the Princess of Fashion, the face of fashion, and the one who puts the H in fashion, Hailey Henderson. Goodbye, my beautiful brats.